So the function of it is to transmit the impulses from one neuron to the another neuron. Then classification we did on that day. So there are some 5 classification: axo-secretory, axonic or axosynaptic, axodendric, axo-extracellular and axosomatic. So if the axon, it is being connected to the bloodstream, we call it as axo-secretory. When the axon is being connected to another axon or the another synapse, we call it as axo-axonic. If the axon is connected to the dendron of a neuron, we call it as axodendric. Then if the axons is being connected with the extracellular fluid, we call it as axo-extracellular. And if the axon is connected to the soma, that is cell body, we call it as axosomatic. So you can see in this diagram what are all the classification we did. So that is the diagrammatic representation of it. So the first one is called axo-secretory. So the end of the axon, that is the axon terminal, it is getting connected with the bloodstream. So we call it as axo-secretory. Now if you see the second diagram, you can see it is called axo-axonic. That is the one axon is connected with another axon. If you see the third one, see the third diagram, the axodendric, that is the axon is getting connected with the dendron of the neuron. If you see the fourth point, axo-extracellular, see the fourth diagram, the lower part of axon is being connected with the dendron of the neuron. See the final one, 5 and 6, axosomatic and axosynaptic. So axosomatic is, I told you, the axon, it is getting connected with the cell body. Then axosynaptic is when the axon terminal ends on another axon terminal. So you can see the diagrammatic representation of all these 5 types of synaptic classification. So this is how a synapse occurs. You can see in this diagram how the electrical stimulus from the axon is getting traveled to the another axon or to the dendron, how it is getting traveled, then how the neurotransmitter is getting released. See the diagram which is present inside the box. You can see the lower end of axon having the vesicles. So these vesicles, what they do, they release the neurotransmitter molecules. The neurotransmitter molecules are present inside the vesicles. Once the electrical stimulus come, they just open it, and after opening, the neurotransmitter are coming outside to reach the postsynaptic membrane. So the postsynaptic membrane will have a receptor to accept the neurotransmitter. Okay, are you able to follow? So this is the structure we saw that day. So the presynaptic neuron, the synaptic cleft and the postsynaptic neuron. So this is the structure of the synapse. In presynaptic neuron, it is the end of axon. It has a membrane known as presynaptic membrane. It is having a mitochondria, that is in the presynaptic terminal. It helps in the synthesis of neurotransmitter. So the neurotransmitter are necessary for the transmission of the this mitochondria is essential for the production of neurotransmitter. So more amount of mitochondria are present in the axon bud, that is axon knob, the lower end of the axon. Then the synaptic vesicles, it helps in the storage of neurotransmitter. So for production you need mitochondria, for storage you need the help of vesicles. Then what is synaptic cleft is, it is a small gap present between the presynaptic membrane and postsynaptic membrane. So the basal lamina of this cleft contains the cholinesterase which destroys acetylcholine. I told you the excess of neurotransmitter is being eroded away, or it is being engulfed and eaten by the acetylcholinesterase. Okay. Then postsynaptic terminal, that is postsynaptic neuron, it has a membrane known as postsynaptic membrane. It contains some receptor proteins. So see the mechanism. In this diagram you can see the mechanism. The lower end of neuron, we call it as axon. So in this axon, so you can see the lower end of axon, when the electrical stimulus is coming, what is happening? A lot of chemical reactions are happening at the lower end of axon. The mitochondria is helping in the production of neurotransmitter. The neurotransmitter is getting projected from the vesicles. After it comes out from the presynaptic to the cleft, it comes to the cleft. Then after it enters the synaptic cleft, it enters the postsynaptic terminal. In the postsynaptic terminal, there is a receptor which holds this neurotransmitter. Then after that, what happens? The sodium enters inside. So first the cell will be negative inside. After the sodium is getting entered, we call that as depolarization. After the sodium enters, the cell once again becomes highly positive. So we call it as hyperpolarization. After that, the potassium which is present inside the postsynaptic terminal, it will come outside to make it as negative, because now the cell is more positive. So after hyperpolarization, the potassium has to come out. So if the potassium is coming out, we call it as repolarization. So before that, when the sodium is entering, we call it as depolarization. After that, there is a isoelectric potential, that is there will be a neutral. The positive and the negative charges will be neutral, so we call it as isoelectric potential, followed by hyperpolarization, followed by repolarization. So this is the mechanism of the synapse. So that we can see once again: arrival of impulse, depolarization of presynaptic region, influx of calcium ions from extracellular fluid into presynaptic region. See, calcium ion, it goes into the presynaptic terminal for the release of neurotransmitter. Okay, so calcium helps in the release of neurotransmitter. So the release of neurotransmitter occurs. Then the passage of neurotransmitter to the synaptic cleft occurs, followed by the presynaptic neuron, arrival of the action potential to the axon terminal. Then there occurs a depolarization of presynaptic membrane. Then the opening of calcium channels in the presynaptic membrane. After the calcium channels are open, the calcium channels enter from extracellular fluid into axon terminal. See, the calcium from ECF is entering the presynaptic terminal for helping the release of neurotransmitter. Once the calcium from extracellular fluid enters the presynaptic terminal, it will try to release the neurotransmitter. So the influx of calcium from ECF into axon terminal, this is presynaptic. We are talking only about presynaptic. So the opening of the vesicles occurs and the release of the ACH, that is the neurotransmitter acetylcholine, occurs. Now what happens in the synaptic cleft? So passage of acetylcholine into the synaptic cleft. Then this ACH binds with the receptors present in the postsynaptic membrane. So now what happens in the postsynaptic neuron? So there is a formation of ACH receptors complex, that is the ACH binds with the receptors present in the postsynaptic neuron complex. Then there is an opening of sodium channels and influx of sodium from ECF. So initially from ECF, calcium ion entered the presynaptic terminal. Now from the ECF, sodium ions are entering into the postsynaptic terminal. So there occurs a reaction. So we call this as depolarization of postsynaptic membrane. So after the depolarization, we can tell that there is a development of action potential. So this helps in the spreading of the action potential through the axon of postsynaptic terminal. Until now, everyone are able to follow? Any one of you can tell me.
Ma'am, except mechanism, everything was clear, ma'am.
Okay.
Last few slides.
Last one is that is this is the end of mechanism. This is very simple only. See, in the postsynaptic, what happens is the calcium ions which was present in the ECF, it entered the presynaptic. Okay, so that will help in the release of neurotransmission. After the neurotransmitter is getting released, that will enter the synaptic cleft. After entering the synaptic cleft, now the neurotransmitter has to enter into the postsynaptic terminal. The postsynaptic terminal can be an axon, or it can be a bloodstream, or it can be a dendrite. Okay, so or it can be an ECF at least. It can be even an extracellular fluid. So what happens in the postsynaptic terminal is it is having a receptors to accept the neurotransmitter. So there occurs some sort of chemical reactions, and the ACH, the acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter is getting traveled into the postsynaptic terminal. So the action potential is traveling. The electrical impulses which will be from the neuron, that is being traveled to the next neuron. So to travel or to make use of this action potential, some reactions has to undergo. So what are all the reactions is, first reaction is a depolarization. That is, the sodium will enter first. It will make inside of the cell more positive. After sodium is entering, we call that reaction as depolarization. After that, the sodium ions, the positive sodium ions will make the cell which is inside negative to become more positive. So before that, there is an isoelectric stage. After the isoelectric stage, it becomes more positive. So that we call it as hyperpolarization. After the more of positive, now the postsynaptic terminal, it will try to release the extra positive ions outside, that is the ECF. So now that sodium has entered, so the potassium has to get out. The potassium is present highly inside the cell membrane. So the positively charged potassium ions will go outside the ECF. If the positive ions are going outside, once again the cell becomes negative and it is ready for the next action potential. Able to follow? Can we go to the properties of synapse?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. We will see the properties of synapse. So what are all the properties? We saw already the properties of neuron, but today we will see the properties of synapse, that is synaptic transmission. So these are all the properties of synapse. First one is one-way conduction. First one is one-way conduction, then synaptic delay, summation property of synapse, conversation and conversions and divergence, occlusion phenomenon, subliminal fringe effect, facilitation, synaptic fatigue, synaptic plasticity and learning, reverberation, reciprocal inhibition, after discharge, effect of acidosis and hypoxia. So we will see each and every property separately. What is meant by one-way conduction? One-way conduction, see, I am talking to you. Only if I allow you, you can talk with me, isn't it? So if I put mute all, you will not be able to talk with me. Only I can talk with you. So this is called one-way conduction. I can tell whatever I want to you, but you are not able to respond. Then that is called one-way conduction. So one-way conduction is unidirectional conduction. In chemical synapse, the neurotransmitter is present only in the presynaptic region. So the impulse gets conducted from pre to post and not vice versa. Okay, there is only a one-way conduction. There is no reverse of this conduction. This is the first property of synapse. Second property, synaptic delay. That is, it has a little bit of time period for one synapse to occur, followed by the next synapse. There will be a little bit of time delay. Get released from synaptic vesicles when action potential has reached the presynaptic region, passes through the synaptic cleft. That is, it needs a little bit of time. The neurotransmitter release, and after releasing it has to come to the postsynaptic. So from pre to post, while it is traveling the action potential, there is a little bit of delay. That is called a synaptic delay. So every stimulus or every synapse will have a little bit of delay. This is the second property. Then third property, summation. Summation means normally in maths we call it as addition, isn't it? So we just clump up everything and we go for an addition and we tell. So when a stimulus of subthreshold strength is applied, subthreshold, okay, that is, if the stimulus is very weak, the action potential will not be developed. Okay, but if many subthreshold stimulus are applied at presynaptic region, effects of these stimuli can get added up. அதாவது கொஞ்சமாக ஸ்டிமுலஸ் வந்து ரொம்ப கம்மியாக இருக்கும்போது ரெஸ்பான்ஸ் இருக்காது. ஆனால் அதே ஸ்டிமுலஸ் கொஞ்சம் கொஞ்சமாக கொடுக்கக்கூடிய அந்த சின்ன ஸ்டிமுலஸ் குரூப் ஆச்சுன்னா அடிஷ்னலாக இதுக்கப்புறம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு when you are adding up the small same frequency stimulus, then there occurs a movement. அதுக்கு பேர் summation. ஸோ கொஞ்சம் கொஞ்சமாக கொடுக்கக்கூடிய சின்ன ஸ்டிமுலஸு ரெஸ்பான்ஸ் நடக்கும். ஆனால் அதே இது ஒரே ஒரு ஸ்டிமுலஸ் ரொம்ப சின்னதாக மைல்டாக இருந்தால் there will not be any sort of response. சரியா? ஸோ when a stimulus of subthreshold strengthனா ரொம்ப கம்மியாக மெஷர் பண்ணக்கூட முடியாத அளவுக்கு ரொம்ப கம்மியான ஸ்ட்ரென்த் உள்ள ஒரு ஸ்டிமுலஸ்